Oh, my goodness. Last week, we explored responsibility. And we started to talk about the idea of above the line and below the line from the Conscious Leadership Group. So let me just review that for a moment. Imagine that you are living in a state of openness and curiosity. You are living above the line. It is playful there. It is wondrous up there. You're questioning. You're in a deep state of listening and speaking. Possibilities are available. In any moment, you could be above the line in a state of openness and curiosity. In any moment, you could choose to be below the line in a closed and defensive state, in a survival context where life is about winning. Someone's winning and someone's losing. In any given moment, you are in one of those two spots. A life of responsibility is not more or less than 100%. It is walking on the planet with curiosity. How is this for me? So let's review commitment 1, responsibility. I commit to taking full responsibility for the circumstances of my life and my physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being. I commit to support others to take full responsibility for their lives. Now, someone said, Lola, didn't you mean to make this next paragraph number 2? No, the next paragraph is the counter commitment. So you have the opportunity to take responsibility and live in an open and curious state, or you could live in a counter commitment. I commit to blaming others and myself for what is wrong in the world. I commit to be a victim, villain, or a hero and take more or less than 100% responsibility. Now, life is happening in micro moments, so you are likely not in a fixed experience or a binary state all the time. You're likely living in a cocktail of above the line or below the line, depending on what issues come up. So consider that you are not your physical body. You have a physical body. And imbuing your physical body is a spirit, your essence, your nature. It is your I am presence. When I can locate myself in my spiritual nature rather than solely in this dimension of reality in my physical nature, I have loose knees. I have the ability to be more malleable and flexible, have a greater awareness and understanding with what's happening in the three-dimensional realm. There is a life force energy, your spiritual nature, that actually when you close your eyes and still your body and do a practice of mindfulness or meditation, you'll start to notice that there's a buzzing in your fingertips. And as you deepen your practice of meditation, you'll start to become aware of your energetic body throughout your entire physical nature. But usually when you are just beginning the practice, you can start to feel a tingling in your fingers. That's the life force energy that leaves the body when the body's ready to lay itself down. It is the eternal, infinite, ever-present nature. It is your real self, your capital S self. There's a wonderful book titled You Are Always Your Own Experience, and Tom Johnson writes, you have a responsibility to be yourself, to reveal who and what you really are, and to live fully and completely always. You have a responsibility to give fully of your God self to every moment, and you can only do this by being self-aware. The way that you can activate your high and holy expression, the unique expression that is you on the planet at this time in history, is by being self-aware. If you're not in a practice of active awareness, you're in a practice of a sleepy state. It's not a problem. It's just that there's a creative capacity that lives in you that you have access to wield. And so you can live at the effect of life, below the line, where life is happening to you, Or you can live in a state of openness and curiosity, a state of 100% responsibility where you begin to awaken to your creative capacity. And life begins to happen by you, through you, and as you. So I'd like to explore what our present dominant cultural norms are, so that you can begin to notice what's standard practice in mainstream culture and what I'm inviting you into. So dominant cultural norms, conflict avoidant. Dominant cultural norm. Valuing formal education over life experience. Right to comfort or entitlement. Sense of urgency. Hurry it up already. Competitive. Emotional restraint. Thus far, I have several ticks against me. And it is all becoming clear why it was very challenging for me and my family system. Because my family system, albeit amazing for many reasons, was laden with patriarchy. And this is a construct that's been subscribed to in dominant culture. Judgmental, either or thinking, belief in one right way, defensive, status-oriented. I was talking about this yesterday in our normal white people Saturday intensive, which, by the way, we have 26 people, 26 white identified people that have said yes to exploring their racial consciousness and unpacking that which is occurring. And, you know, I have often said until white people, white identified people, start to take responsibility for the way racism is breathing them, we're not going to see the change that's required on the planet. So I mentioned yesterday that I have one particular uncle who has said to me in no uncertain terms, with some level of repetition, "You're too much." And he's sort of angry about it. And it's occurred for me, like, I take it personally. And I've actually spent 40 years navigating a construct of "you're too much." That's a lot to unpack right there. And it took me long into my adulthood to be able to ask the question and to interrogate the accusation by wondering, relative to what? By whose standards? Who decided? Who decided? Now imagine the consciousness of humanity is liberated. Imagine you are free to be. Imagine your self-expression is encouraged. As we prepared for this morning's service, my 9-year-old daughter was skipping around the stage, and I watched her body be so self-expressed, and I could notice the narrative in me that wanted her to turn it down. It's too much. If you are not self-aware, that one runs you. I have come to understand that people like my uncle have not distinguished what's running them yet in that way. And so I am expanding my capacity for compassion. Because what if it's not personal? What if we are all in a deeply entrenched, sleepy state, seduced by different power structures where we've outsourced our safety, our security, our approval, and our control, and we're all just trying to survive? So my invitation to you for this month is begin to notice where the dominant cultural norms are moving you. Begin to notice where they're they've permeated your being, and you're now projecting them onto others. I was in bed the other morning, and I have this terrible habit of like secretly and quietly snatching my phone, hoping my husband does not realize I'm awake. And then I very quietly make this movement on the phone, and I love it. And I came across Tracy Ellis Ross, Diana Ross's daughter, and if you don't follow her on Instagram, you are just missing a whole bunch of fabulousness. It's just ridiculous. So she posts this video, and I just want you to watch it for a moment, maybe a couple times. Just one more, Nick. Just one more, please. Oh my God, I must have watched it for 3 minutes. And what I love about that particular clip, is she is so fully self-expressed. She is uninhibited by any dominant cultural norms. She is fully letting her life force energy move through her. She's just won the match. Ah! Now, some of you, that scares you because you don't let that kind of power move through your being. To see a woman allow that kind of life force energy through her body temple is something fierce. The idea of paying attention to the dominant cultural norms and disrupting them so that you can be free to be is the invitation this month. So let's move on. We talked about 100% responsibility last week. We also talked about curiosity, so I just want to review that really quickly. Commitment number 2, these can be found at conscious.is, put out by the Conscious Leadership Group. I commit to growing in self-awareness. I commit to regarding every interaction as an opportunity to learn. I commit to curiosity as a path to rapid learning. Imagine walking in every interaction with a state of curiosity. How is this interaction for me? Remember, dominant cultural norm, defensive. New paradigm possibility, open and curious, loose knees. How is this for me? The counter commitment, I commit to being right and to seeing this situation as something that is happening to me. I commit to being defensive, especially when I am certain that I am right. That's my favorite. Now here's the challenge. For those of us who are right a lot of the time, right doesn't make the difference. You know, there's that old adage, would you rather be right or would you rather be connected? You choose. It's very addicting to be right. I love it. And it moves very little forward. So how can I have a point of view and be open to the infinite number of other points of view? My mom always grew up telling me, or she told me as I was growing up, there are as many ways to do life as there are people on the planet. Now, imagine with each interaction, we have that curiosity. I wonder what this expression of God consciousness is here to teach me. How is this? Imagine this is your movie. And you, at a soul level, called forward every single actor. And you have invited them into your soul's development. Now, someone will come up after me and be like, do you really believe that? It's mythology, as is every sacred text on the planet. Mythology. So just play what could be possible if this was your movie and your soul called into existence every actor to provoke, to prod you, such that you may become your most potent expression of self. I like that mythology. Much better than something's inherently bad and wrong with you. I digress. So let us move on to commitment number 3. Perhaps, I'm going to tell you what, there are 15 commitments. We will not get through all of them today, nor this month. There's an Introduction to Conscious Leadership class that kicks off in October. If you know you're interested, you come hang out. We'll talk about it. We probably will not get through more than 6 this month, but these 2 right here, take a breath. They're my favorites. If you know me, you will not be surprised. Feelings, number 3. I commit to feeling my feelings all the way through to completion. They come, and I locate them in my body, then move, breathe, and vocalize them so they release all the way through. In this culture, in this dominant culture, we have very little practice around feeling our feelings. We prefer the neck up, thank you very much. It's too scary to feel the power that can surge through you. That is the beauty of Serena Williams. She is an embodiment of life force energy electrifying through her body temple, and she's not scared. That same capacity lives in every being on the planet. Some of us have been given greater permission to experience it than others, but today is the day that you can choose to liberate your life force energy and to fully empower the vessel that is you. Now, the counter commitment, the alternative choice, is I commit to resisting, judging, and apologizing for my feelings. I repress, avoid, and withhold them. I am not here to debate with you around Serena Williams' activity at yesterday's match. I loved it. It was powerful. To own one's feelings. Because the alternative is, which is what most of us have been domesticated into doing, is to feel the feeling and suppress it. To push it down. And then your back hurts. Your knees hurt. Your bank account's messed up. Your marriage is on the fritz. There's great power in feeling your feelings. You've heard me talk about this before. It is said that when you allow a feeling state to move through your body, it is a contraction. It moves in no more than 90 seconds. And if you allow it to be as a contraction in your body, you stay fluid, you stay free. So I'm going to invite you into an alternative practice. If you are here for the first time, welcome. We love you. We are so happy you're here. If this makes you uncomfortable and you don't want to do it, just notice that. Just notice that. No one has to participate in this invitation. Got it? All right. So shift your body a little bit. Maybe sit up a little more erectly. If you're at home, this is a great exercise for you too. And close your eyes just for a moment. Bring to your mind's eye something that you're presently dealing with, that you know provokes feeling in you, and it's recurring. Perhaps it's a relationship. Perhaps it's a health condition. Perhaps it's a financial worry. Perhaps it's a work issue. Hold it in your mind's eye. And I'm going to ask you to make an audible sound free of words that matches the feeling state. My invitation for you is to have it be louder than you're comfortable with. You're likely sitting next to people you don't know. This is now feeling very scary. But you're okay. Nothing's going to happen. We're just practicing feeling our feelings. So again, bring this issue into your mind's eye. And I'll give you the cue, and I'm going to ask you to make a non-verbal sound that matches the feeling state in your body, free of words, and to do it more loudly or more expressively than is your nature. 1, 2, take a deep breath. 3. Take a deep breath. Allow this to be a sacred practice. Allow this to be something that moves your feelings. You've likely been in very few environments where there's a consolidated experience of feeling. So check into the nuance. Close your eyes again if you would. Take a deep breath and see how the feeling is now. It may have changed. It may have loosened. Take a deep breath and match your feeling with sound. Go. All right. Open your eyes. Take a deep breath. I'm going to invite you to stand. So if you're at home, go ahead and stand. If you're here, go ahead and stand. I'm going to ask you now to match your feeling state with body movement, recognizing the limitations of proximity to the person around you. But if you were to give yourself the freedom to move your physical body in a way that matches your feeling state, you're welcome to use sound also. What would that look like? Bring the issue to your mind's eye. Notice the feelings in your physical body and match it with sound and movement. Go ahead. All right, take a deep breath. Go ahead and sit down. Most of us are walking on the planet with a lid on it. Most of us are walking on the planet with very little facility for body, sound, and movement. There is an aliveness that you give yourself permission for when you feel your feelings. There is a recurring experience that I notice in adults, myself included, of being tired. It's just like I'm tired. I'm so tired. And there's great evidence to suggest, I'm not suggesting that you need to do this, but you actually have a capacity to go on far less sleep than you realize. It's just that we have a narrative, and we are fatigued by the narrative. The narrative is taxing. I like 8 hours of sleep. And I'm good with that. I don't have anything to prove that I can function on 5. That just, like, if you want to play that game, go for it. It's just not a game I'm interested in. I like 8 hours of sleep. I actually have an incredible capacity to relax. My husband walks around and watches me all the time. He's like, "You're so relaxed." And it's sort of like I move a lot of energy, and then I sit. I move a lot of energy, and I sit. And I can sit for days. And it's not like a lethargy. It's like a peacefulness. And if I have this, even longer. So my invitation for us as adults, as people who are midwifing a new paradigm of humanity, a new expression on the planet, is to buck the dominant normal cultural ways of being. Normal, in quotes, is not normal to not feel. It's not normal to have emotional restraint. It's not normal to repress oneself. You're here to be free and fluid. So let's move to commitment number 4, my next favorite commitment. Candor. Love it. Keeps you free, keeps you alive, keeps you available, keeps you in the present moment. Candor. I commit to saying what is true for me. I commit to being a person to whom others can express themselves with candor. Now, the alternative here, which has also become the abnormal practice, I commit to withholding my truth, facts, feelings, things I imagine, and speaking in a way that allows me to try to manipulate an outcome. I commit to not listening to the other person. Wow, that sounds fun. I was in a meeting recently, and there was some conversation occurring, and there was the experience for some in the room that there was a lack of clarity around what we were there to be and do and discuss. And so one of the people in the room said, I am asking for clarity. Here is how I'm feeling. This is what I'm noticing, and I want to check that out with the group. Don't breathe. Everything's fine. I feel nothing. Everything's fine in here. Don't you feel fine? I don't know what you're talking about. Have you been in those environments? Oh my gosh, I cannot. That is so much work. No wonder you're tired. Now, what was curious was I later found out that there was a reaction in the room that inquiry was too forward. That inquiry was too provocative. But can you understand that if you have been domesticated to repress, which all of us have, this happens to be a community that's deeply interested in the practice of liberation. But we've all been domesticated into varying degrees of emotional restraint. Let's look at that list again. Conflict avoidant, check. Because if your candor is activated, conflict can occur. What it requires, though, is that you experience conflict as wrong. Oh, wait, I think that's on here. Belief in one right way, emotional restraint, judgmental, either or thinking. Yeah, defensive. Do you see what I'm saying? That's a lot to manage. It is exhausting. So may we consider in the month of September liberating ourselves from these dominant, normal, cultural ways. May we consider that. Now, as we talked about in our Saturday intensive yesterday, the first step is just to notice. Just to notice where they're operating in you. Notice the tendency for one way being right. This person's candor was not okay. What Serena Williams did yesterday was not okay. You heard that voice, right? Her self-expression, her feeling her feelings, her candor, not okay. Never mind the fact that men can do it. That is not the point. Shh. 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 Serena, come on now. Do we have any Serenas in the room? You're too much. Now, there's a commitment that comes much later that I won't go into deeply today, but that commitment says, consider that the opposite of your story may be as true or truer than your story. So if the story is, she's too much. If the story is, she acted out. Again, I'm going to ask, acted out of what paradigm? If the story is, you're too much, flip it. How can the opposite of this story be as true or truer than the story? So today we have an information session for people who have expressed interest in our Conscious Leadership Practitioner Program that kicks off this fall. If you're someone who has taken foundations and you know you're interested in being a stand for a new paradigm for living on the planet, I urge you to come to this information session. As I said a few weeks ago, Yogi Bhajan, the founder of Kundalini Yoga, said, I am not here interested in creating disciples. I am here interested in forming a body of teachers. And I have said for many years the Bodhi Spiritual Center is on the planet to create strong practitioners that can anchor this new paradigm in the places and spaces that you influence. Everyone here is a leader. The way that we define leader is one who influences. You influence someone, somewhere, even if you don't know it. So would you be willing to consider taking 100% responsibility? You don't need the program to do that, but if you want the program, you can come hang out. Would you be willing to take 100% responsibility for your power, for your influence? Would you be willing to walk through the planet with a sense of curiosity and wonder? Would you be willing to practice feeling your feelings all the way through to completion? Would you be willing to practice candor? I'll close with this. Be aware of the completeness that you already are, and then get busy with revealing it. You are complete. You have everything you need. There's nothing more that needs to be added unto you. You pressed through into this dimension of reality, imbued by the infinite capacity of this vast universe. Science will tell you that. That's not some airy-fairy magic. That's science. You have everything you need. The only thing that holds humanity back are stories that we attach to and paradigms that we create out of those stories. You are here to disrupt the dominant cultural ways of being to liberate humanity.